Welcome to Don's Studio Art Lessons. 1 point perspective has the face of the box facing right directly to us. In 2 point, the edge is the closest thing that faces us.
With today's work, what do you want to do? You want to look down on the world, or you want to look up at the world?
What's easier?
Don't make any difference.
Turn the paper over so it doesn't.
That's right, you can turn the paper over. Want to look down. Okay. So in order to look down on the world, what we're going to have to do is put our eye level line way up high on the paper. So what I want you to do is bring your ruler up close to the top. I've got to back out a bit here. Come on, back out. There we go. Thank you. And remember, your vanishing points are going to be clear out here at the extreme edges of your board. And the eye level line should be light, just enough so you can kind of barely see it. And with it lined up with that eye level line, you're going to take and put a couple of marks on your board out here, right where the ruler would run off. And if you need to, some of you, if your ruler's a little shorter, just move it over, line it up with a line like this so that you can get this mark right at the edge of the board.
So did you mark the vanishing point, or are you continuing out your eye level line?
Yeah, the eye level line, and the vanishing point is where the eye level line essentially runs off the board. So I'm going to do that on one side.
Can you move your head kind of to one side?
Well, yeah, when I get done. I've tried to detach it, but you know, it makes things confusing. I'll sit down in a minute too, and so hopefully that won't happen quite as much. So really this eye level line goes all the way across, runs off the board at the 2 points, and we put it above, because if the eye level line, and essentially just, if you look at me right now, essentially what we've done in this drawing, we've taken your eyes that are here and we've pulled them up here. So the plane is up here, so it's more like you're standing up looking down at what we're drawing rather than sitting. Okay? The other thing, and we did a lot of this last time, and I want to continue. If you're not sure, you've got to ask the question as soon as you're not sure. And I need to come around and look with you and show you, you know, what might be confusing. Because we are dealing with an optical illusion. And as we found out last time, optical illusions can be really confusing. In fact, it was really interesting. I think you did the one box that the top was gone and you were looking down in the box. I came around and my mindset wasn't ready for it, and I thought you'd made a mistake.
You were looking for a glass box.
I was looking for a glass box. So it was a perfect example. You know, he'd gone ahead and done something. My mindset was locked into what I was looking for. Saw the wrong thing. So it's going to happen to all of us as we work with this and learn this stuff. So please speak up right away so I can come around and give assistance.
So the eye level line, is that one on top?
Way up here.
Oh, okay.
And see the vanishing point, there's one here, and it continues out to here. Okay? Now, what I'm going to try to do this time, in hopes that we will, all of us, get less confused, is we're going to do a lot of measurements. But I'm going to try to keep the measurements pretty simple. So what I want, ooh boy, that glare is terrible, isn't it?
It is. I don't know why it's so blurry.
Oh, it's just the angle of the light for some
Turn
reason.
off one of the rows of lights.
Well, then everybody else can't see. I'll fake it. I can do that.
Is that better?
Is that okay for everybody? No, see, it's the wrong. No matter what you do, I got a.
Just the metal ruler.
Yeah, part of it's the metal ruler. Yeah. Okay, so what I want you to do is start from your eye level line, and I think what I want you to do is come down 2 inches, and I want you to make the first line 2 inches long. Okay?
2 spaces.
And just kind of do a medium weight on that line so you can see it, but it's not really dark. I bet you can't even see my line, huh? You know what I'm gonna do?
Oh, come down 2 inches?
I'm gonna tilt this, there we go. Yeah, yeah, you're gonna come down 2 inches to start it, you're gonna make the line 2 inches long. And like I've mentioned before, if as soon as you're done, if you look up in this direction, that gives me a clue when everybody's ready to go to the next spot. So if somebody's still working with something, that I can see that, and that gives me a good clue. Maybe I need to go help somebody or double check what you're doing. You know, so it's just a good technique. All right, remember that we always start with the edge. So now what we need to do is I want you to lay out the vanishing lines for this side of the box. So we're going to go from the top and the bottom and make a line to the vanishing point way over here in this extreme edge. I'll use my clear ruler because I think that helps you see what I'm doing a little better. Remember I talked about lining the pencil up with the end and then making sure you're right at the point here and making sure everything lines up before you draw your vanishing line. And for now, I want the vanishing line. I'm going to have to go darker, aren't I? Please do that. If you can't see my lines as I'm working, remind me to make it a little darker. You should make it so light you can barely see it because it's a construction line. Yeah, you got to come down 2 inches. Yeah, come down 2 inches and make the line 2 inches. Yeah. Now I mentioned to you last time that what we did, we remember we put this other line in, and what I had you do is I had you just guess at it till it looked like it was a square. This time I'm going to show you how we figure that out. Okay, so what you're going to do, you're going to take your ruler and you're going to line up 8-inch line, I don't care particularly which one you do, with this point. And notice my ruler is horizontal to the page. It's going straight across this way, and I have an inch mark lined up with the bottom corner.
What number is that?
Any number on the ruler is fine.
Oh, okay.
I have a couple rulers I probably am not going to use that have measurements if you don't have a measuring.
I could use one.
Okay, yeah, good. Anybody else need one with measurements on it?
Okay. I'll ask you.
Okay. Yeah. Now again, because we have several people here that are used to metric measuring, I apologize, I am not good at metrics, but I'll try to take it slow and easy so those who aren't used to it can get. Okay, this was 2 inches, right? So if we want to find where the 2-inch mark is on our vanishing line, what we need to do, and I'm going to do it dark, you need to do it light, I'm going to draw a horizontal 2-inch line right from the bottom corner. Oh, got to make it darker, don't I? Okay. Okay, so I've drawn a 2-inch line from this corner. I see what, you know what it is? The camera's changed, look at the camera's changing focus based on my skin.
Yes, it is. Well, that's true.
Did you try zooming in a little bit?
Well, it's just the difference in the contrast.
Look at that.
I was like, yeah, what is it doing? I just realized what it was doing.
Does it do it if you zoom in real close?
What if you put your board down, all the way down on the table, rather than on the box?
Because it was too much of a glare. Here, yeah, I can move in now because you guys will know what we're doing.
Oh, that's so much better.
There we go. You just have to remember what vanishing point we're using, right? Okay, so here's the 2 inches here. I went 2 inches here. Now if I line my ruler up with this point and this point, and I'm not going to draw a line all the way, I'm going to see that they're lined up carefully, and I'm just going to make a mark here on that bottom line. And then I'm going to use that point to draw my vertical line. Make sure I got it straight up and down. Okay. And so what we get left is what would be the correct perspective illusion of a square in two-point perspective tilted away from us. So anytime you want to give a particular correct, let's say you were drawing the front of the building and you knew the building was 10 feet high and 30 feet long. Well, you could convert that to inches and make a line this long, and by being across there, you'd end up with an image that looked the same perspective or same proportion as the building.
Can you use that on graph paper with that same technique if you were building up something?
Yeah. Yeah, as long as you use the vanishing point. You gotta have vanishing points.
Right.
Yeah, gotta have that because it's a mechanical process. All right, so just because we did that, let's go ahead on the other side and line it up. And I know here, I'll try to keep it so it looks straight to you. I know when I move my board, tilt it. And this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out 3 inches. Because you remember, one of the things we've talked about as we were doing the earlier drawing kinds of things, we talked about proportion, the relationship of the height to the width, and how you work with that, so that we're doing it mechanically, and we can do that here with this. Okay, before we go any further, from each of these points, you want to draw to the vanishing point in the corner. I want you to wait a minute till I draw mine in, because I want to get in really close and have you see something.
What?
What you should be trying to do is, you notice by putting my pencil down first, all 3 of those lines come to exactly the same place, or as close as I can get it with the thickness of the lead of my pencil. See, the pencil, when you see it under magnification, that's a pretty big thing. All right? And it's really easy. I'm just going to make a quick thing when you're doing this to end up with things that cross like this. See, where the lines don't meet at the same point as they do here. And that's the thing we talked last time about having a cumulative error. By the time you get way back somewhere, all of a sudden nothing lines up anymore, because all those little tiny mistakes have really added up. How we doing? Anybody want me to come do a quick check? Okay. All right, so let's do the vanishing line this way that goes to the edge. From what we did over here, can you guess what we're going to do now here? Okay, yeah, if you can,
3?
go ahead and do it. Do it lightly.
3 inches?
Do you know how we got this line using this? So we need a line here. We're going to do the same thing on this side. Go ahead and see if you can do it without me doing it first, and then I'll do it so you can double check and see how you keep it light, so if it's wrong you can change it. I try to do a lot of this as we go along with this beginning stuff because I found that it's important to make mistakes along the way and then figure out how to solve them. That's part of the process of really getting the concept down so that it makes sense. This side is 3.
Oh, it's just like on the paper. Cross that out. Put an X
Yeah, you gotta watch out for those little fly spots. They can throw you off every time.
Me and Becky take turns when you're not looking, we make marks on your paper. That's right, she says something and I do it.
Ooh, we gotta watch out for Mandy. I can say that right.
Watch out for both.
Oh,
She's
yeah,
my
you're in
silent
trouble
partner.
land over there.
She's my silent partner in crime.
Okay, so let me go through it. Okay, so remember the first thing we did over here was the diagonal line that went from the end of this line to this top corner. Line my ruler up and then just put the mark there so I know where the vertical line has to go from. And then put in the vertical lines. So we now have two sides of our box. And we'll come back and work with this later, but let's say this is a building, because I told you next time we're going to do a building. If we wanted a building with 4 windows and 5 spaces, we can figure the measurement out here and transfer it to here, and it all works out right. Okay, so it's kind of a neat system to get the hang of, you know, rather than just trying to guess. Because remember, as everything goes back, it gets smaller and smaller. So each row of windows would be smaller than the previous one, and that's how you would do that mechanically, and we'll play with some of that as we go along. Okay, what does our box need next? Top. Okay, so we're going to go from this corner, that vanishing point, this corner, this vanishing point. And you'll notice I'm not going to draw it all the way across the paper, because I know that it only has to go to here somewhere. So that as we go along, as long as you don't lose track of where your correct vanishing point is, you can start to experiment with that, and it really keeps your drawing from getting very complicated. Now, back here, I'm going to make sure the 2 lines crisscross. I'm not going to just butt the 2 lines together. The reason for that, a crisscross, it's much easier to determine where the center of that is, where that happens. If you make a butt line, you can't see it as well. Now, so before we go on, again, talking about proportion, remember one of the things we're always learning to do is see proportion, which is the relationship of height to width in this case. This was 2 inches. We created this 2-inch line to create the perspective illusion that this is also 2 inches in reality. All right, if the measurements were the same, this is a ratio of 1 to 1, right? Because they're both the same size. We could call it the ratio of 10 to 10 or 100 to 100. It's still 1 to 1 because they're the same. Okay, this was 2 inches, and this was 3 inches. So the perspective ratio between this and this is 2 to 3, right? Because this was 2 units, this was 3 units. So I could do, again, any combination as long as it was a 2 to 3 relationship, right? Okay, so kind of what we're working there. All right, so what we're mainly going to work with today is adding boxes to boxes, and the first side we're going to add to is this one, all right? And what we're going to do is the box going to look like it's coming out at us at this angle. Now, I'm going to go back to this line and do some work because I want to try to look the box that's coming out here looks uniform. So let's put our ruler back up here so that you see 2 inches. Oh, that's going to throw it. Don't look at the marks on my ruler. There we go. So you've got 2 inches here, and what I want you to do is come in a 1/2 inch from the corner and make a mark, and a 1/2 inch from the other side and make a mark, which will leave 1 inch space in the center. 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1 inch left in the center. Two-inch line, okay, and with the 2 inches I measured in a 1/2 inch, made a mark, made in a 1/2 inch, and made a mark. Remember, ask questions. Don't be bashful, please.
That mark, from the outside edge, it looks like it's lined up with the box line.
Let me come see what you're.
Yeah, the English barrier.
No, it's the listening barrier.
This half inch looks like it's like.
Oh, yeah, it could be. That's just coincidence.
Okay.
Good question. Yeah, that just happened to happen that way. No planning there. Yeah. Serendipity. All right, so remember what we did before. We lined up this with this corner and brought the mark to this line. So we're going to do the same thing with each one of these. Okay, and I'm going to actually draw the line this time. Oh, got to draw it darker so you can see what I'm doing. I know, get closer too, huh? There we go, that makes it show up. See, I actually drew the line in this time, so it's clear where it's coming from. So this one's going to be this way. Come on, ruler.
How did you get there?
How did I get this line? Okay, it's this mark is a ½ inch in.
No, the next step.
This one here? Oh, this one. Okay, remember how when we got this line, we lined our ruler up here?
Yeah.
And we brought it up to this point?
Yeah.
I did the same thing on these other two lines. See, I started from here,
Oh.
lined up there, got the line, lined up there, got the line. Okay? And for now, I'm going to draw my lines all the way up, like that.
You want us to do the same?
Yes. And again, part of the reason for all this mechanical exercise is to get you to think in perspective. You know, that's the reason we're doing all of this. Here's a good example. This, in the reality, was a ½ inch, and so is this. But look at how much smaller this looks than this. And it should, because it's further away. As things get further away, they get smaller. You know, so it really illustrates that concept, how it works. And because we're doing it mechanically, eventually you have to believe that that's the way it is. Okay? Because, you know, you just lay it out and say, well, see, it's got to work then. Kind of thing. Okay? Now, if we wanted the space on the top of this box and the bottom of the box to also be a ½ inch, where would we measure the ½ inch?
From center? From the...
On the center line.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we're going to, and this time, so we put the ruler here, come down a ½ inch, go up a ½ inch, and we have the two marks that can go back to the vanishing point to finish off our box. And I'm just going to draw the line here where I need it.
And these ones we go to the vanishing point?
Yeah, you're lining up to the vanishing point, but your ruler, but you only need to draw the line there. It's still lined up to the vanishing point.
Which is exactly what you did at the bottom.
Yeah.
The bottom lines went to a vanishing point.
These
which
two?
was the center.
No, these two went to this point.
That's considered their vanishing
No.
point?
No, when you're doing this measurement thing, this is not a vanishing point.
It's just the point.
It's what you're doing is you're taking a perspective and you're taking a vertical and horizontal measurement to pull back to the perspective drawing.
Okay.
Okay, and that's what that is. And if you're understanding my English, that's good.
I am a little confused
Okay.
about that. I made the ½ inch, but then
Yeah.
I go up here.
Yeah, that. Okay, again, I always like to ask the question and have you try to think of the answer before we draw it. We now have this box on the end of the box. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to come back and erase these just a little bit. And because I made them so dark, I'm not going to really get rid of them. Hey, I want to thank all of you for when my head is in the way, saying, move my head, not get the bald spot out of the way. I appreciate that. All right. The box, or the start of the next box, we're going to go from this and work out. We want it to come out this way. So are you going to use the vanishing point on the right or the left? Yes.
The right.
On the right. Okay. Now, the thing is here, we don't know yet how long that's going to come out there. So, you're going to line up with your vanishing point to the right. That's what I'm doing here. And I'm going to line up with this bottom corner. And I think what I'm going to do is put the 2-inch mark on this dot. See, here's my 2-inch mark on the dot. Okay, the ruler's lined up with the right vanishing point, and I've slid the ruler back and forth till the 2-inch mark lines up right with that mark. Oh, that's not the one I want though, is it? Come on, you're supposed to be catching up with. What is he doing now? He doesn't know. How's that? Ah, okay. Actually, that was just a test. Yeah, Okay, so I'm going to draw my vanishing line from this corner out 2 inches and stop. Now, I used a 2-inch measurement, but in our perspective drawing, that is not a real 2 inches because it's in perspective, right? I mean, we measured it 2 inches, but if I were to use this method here, that would be something else. But I just did that so we can all kind of work uniform for now. My pencils keep rolling off my board here. All right. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to use the end of this line, and I'm going to make sure my ruler's straight up and down. I'm going to mention this again because we talked about it last week, but some of you will end up doing this because it's natural. Instead of making sure that your ruler is vertical with this and the edge of your paper, the tendency is to want to draw the shortest line between two distances and tilt your ruler. All the vertical lines must be vertical. Okay, so double check yourself on that. I don't know how long it's going to be. It's going to meet this vanishing line, but till I get it in there, I don't know, so I'm just going to draw it longer than I need it. Question?
Nope. I'm so far behind, I don't even.
To do this.
Well, we're a little codependent, so
You want to be free
Kinda
of
want
that.
Codependent, is that what you said? Oh, brother. That boy, that's a slanted. Okay, so now what we're going to do is going to line this point up with a vanishing point so we can figure out where this line stops. And again, I'm going to crisscross a little bit. See, I'm not going to stop at the line, I'm going to crisscross it. And that went to the vanishing point. So when you get done, you should see that we've had one side of that box constructed. We've got this side drawn, which is the extension of this square, and we've started to make our three-dimensional box coming out the end. And we've got the right side drawn. Now, if you can't see that, I should know. Okay, because again, we're playing with illusions. All right, now, we could go, try to talk. We could go a couple of ways. We could draw these from these 2 points and draw those lines out and then figure these. Or we could take from these 2 points and go to this vanishing point and then come here and connect back. There's oftentimes a couple of ways to go about it. Is there a right way, a wrong way? No. The right way is doing it right. Okay, in other words, the end result is right. You know, so I think what we'll do this time, just for the heck of it, let's start from these 2 ends and go to this vanishing point to begin to construct this end out here. We could do it another way, but let's just do it that way. So I'm going to line up with the vanishing point. And again, I'm not drawing it out all the way because I don't need to. I won't need a line that long. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little guided practice here on how we would draw a perspective box without using the vanishing lines. In other words, draw it freehand. Starting to apply what we're learning here to freehand drawing. Okay, so we're going to draw on another piece of paper. All right, so on that paper, brown paper in front of you, what I want you to do, and remember what we're doing here now is we're sketching. So what I want you to do is use several light lines and just kind of sketch in a vertical line. And a sketch is a lot of lines, remember, overlapping. It's not one single line.
Which way should we hold our pencil for this?
Yeah, I would hold it regular for this, yeah. And next what we're going to do, I'm going to actually hold this way. Let me move out further because you made me think of it. Now, I want a long vanishing line. So what I want to do is I'm going to hold my pencil this way, and you see I'm going to kind of play this in a little bit before I actually draw it. And then I'm going to sketch in a vanishing line. You pick your angle. Now, if we look back at our example here, what happens to this end of the box compared to this end of the box? It's smaller. And the reason it gets smaller is because this vanishing line does something in relationship to this vanishing line. The space between gets smaller as you go back. It's what we call a converging line, meaning eventually it will meet somewhere in the distance. So, when I do my next line, is that going to work? No, because it's not converging, isn't it? So I'm going to sketch in so I get kind of seeing in the space, and then I'm going to sketch in. I might have to do a couple. So I have my lines converging, and I can see that they converge. Not a lot, but a little bit. And let's do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to turn my paper when I do it.
So how do we do left hand now?
No, you just turn your paper usually is easier, so you...
That's easier. You can't turn these
Oh yeah, you can't turn that, can you?
the table over.
Again, that was a test. Uh-huh. That's when in high school the football player gets up and moves the table. You know. And remember when we did this one over here, we were after this looking kind of like one-to-one or a square, so you have to kind of judge it, sketch in the line. This side was 2 to 3 or a little longer, so we can sketch in that line. Now, Notice when we did the lines for the top of the box, we had the same situation. This line converges on that one, so this space gets smaller. The same thing's going to happen over here. The trick is how much. I'm gonna do it wrong first. Okay, so I want you to watch.
I don't know how to do it wrong.
Well, but you need to know when you've done it wrong. Do you notice how it looks like somebody took the back corner of the box and bent it down? That's how you tell. Okay, so let me do it again. Now they grabbed a hold of it and pulled it up. Okay, so what you know how to see the right line because I've kind of shown you. So when you start to sketch in your line, what you're looking for is a converging line that when you're done, it will look like the top of the box is flat. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now you're just testing me again, I know. So again, that's kind of what we'll work at. You know, we're trying to do the mechanical to learn so you can draw freehand. Because that's where our goal is. You know, to eventually be able to do that and do it with success. And you can see where one of the places that's a problem doing that is when you go to construct the bottom or the top or bottom of the box is when it gets, these sides are pretty easy. But it's the top and bottom that get crazy on you. And the key is if it looks like somebody peeled the lid off of a can or pushed it in, then you know you haven't got something converging right. Okay? Okay. How do I find this side of the box? Somebody.
Over to the right-hand side.
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to take, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring, line up with this point and the vanishing point on the right side and bring the line out till it hits this one right here. Get my hand off of it. And we can do the same thing with this bottom point now and bring it out down to here. I need to make that darker. Now, if all your little points you were doing and you've drawn all your lines vertical, what should happen is these 2 points should be directly above each other and straight. If it goes a little bit this way or a little bit that way, you have an example of a cumulative error. In other words, way back here you made a little error, and it all added up by the time you got here, and that line's not going to be vertical. So what do we do in that case? We cheat. We make it vertical anyway. Mine looks a little off because I've got my board slanted. I'm going to
Mine looks extremely off.
see if I bring it. Look, can you? I don't know if you see how this line looks like it's really slanted. Watch what happens when I bring my board up. You know, it's. But I need to do that for the glare. Okay. Are you ready on your own to put a window in this side and make a box come out this way?
No.
Give it a try. What do we remember the thing I started with? Now what we did was we measured on this line and brought all this up here. You don't have to do that. So you can just start by drawing a line in here to begin with for whatever height you want the window to be. I'm not gonna, if you want to do the measurement, fine, go ahead and do it. But if you want to keep it simple, just draw this first line and then start figuring out your vanishing lines. I'm going to walk around so that if you have a question, hopefully I'll be there.
Okay, over here.
line first.
How did we get started with the measurement?
Oh, okay, yeah, you've got that, okay, yeah, see, that's gonna be really slanted. Because, oh, Ida, this line's going to the wrong way, it needs to come from this corner. That's what you did. Yeah.
But when we brought it up from, I don't remember.
From the sides, same thing, because it was 2 inches.
I don't remember how to start with the measurements, but I want to practice it so I can learn to remember.
Okay, well, if you want to, you can do, see, we already have a 1/2 inch down here and a 1/2 inch up here. You could actually start with those two and go off to this vanishing point and get your top and bottom line in first.
Okay, but if I didn't want to do it, what would I need to be remembering that, like from the beginning part?
Yeah, you'd put the ruler here with the 3 inches in. You'd measure in a 1/2 inch on this line. You'd measure in a 1/2 inch from this end. Using this point, bring them up to this edge and then go up. Okay?
Could I do an inch to make it easier?
Yeah, you could do different. Doesn't have to be 1/2 inch.
Thanks for watching Don's Studio.